and welcome to my craft room. I'm Leo from inkymemories.co.uk, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in South Wales, and today on this Simple Saturday Stampin' video we're going to be making some birthday cards using the Happiest of Birthday stamp set along with things from the Playing with Patterns suite. Now both of these can be found from page 100 to 103 in the annual catalogue. So this is the Playing with Patterns suite. There's a couple of different things from this suite that we're going to be using today, and then the Happiest of Birthday stamp set is on page 103 as well. So birthday cards are one of those cards that I need all the time, and I'm sure it's probably the same for you. Pretty much every week there's someone that I know having a birthday, so I tend to make birthday cards in batches quite a lot, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. So the first thing I'm going to do, as this is a Simple Saturday video, I have all of my pieces pre-cut and ready to go. So I'm using Coastal Cabana for my card base today. This is just a piece of A4, fully in half. So this is 14.85 centimeters by 21, and it is scored at 10.5. I also then have a piece of designer series paper, and this is from the Playing with Patterns paper, which is this 6x6 stack of paper, and this is just absolutely gorgeous. There are so many patterns in this set, all kinds of different things, stripes and spots, sort of more watercoloured images. Really fun, bright patterns in here to make a statement all by themselves. You don't need to add a lot to these to make some really gorgeous cards and projects. So that's some of those. And I've chosen this piece today, so it's using the colours of Coastal Cabana, Purple Posy and Night of Navy. I also have a Whisper White envelope, a piece for the inside of the card. Now this measures 13.35 centimeters by 9, and then I have a piece for the front for the sentiment, and this measures 9 centimeters by 7. I'm going to start by stamping my sentiment, and I'm going to be using this gorgeously huge sentiment, wishing you the happiest of birthdays, and this is going on the smaller piece of Whisper White card that I have. And again, I'm going to be using the colour palette that I have in the designer series paper. So I'm going to stamp the sentiment for this card in Night of Navy. Now as this is such a big stamp, I'm going to use this slightly differently when it comes to inking the stamp up. Normally I would have my ink pad down and tap the stamp lightly, but obviously this being so big, that's quite difficult to do. So I'm going to switch it around. Put your stamp down on the surface, and then take your ink pad to it, and the same applies. You just lightly tap the ink over the surface of the stamp until you are happy that it is nicely covered, just like so. And then lining up your piece of cardstock, take your stamp over the top, make sure you're happy with the border all around the edge, and push firmly down. And with this being such a big stamp, it is worth just carefully pressing all the way around to make sure that it all has contact with the cardstock, but don't move the stamp. That part is very important. And then you just need to lift it up. Now the cardstock has stuck. This is very normal with large stamps. Just gently pull it away, and there is your stamped sentiment. Now while we have the ink open, I'm also going to stamp the inside mat for the card. And I'm going to be using some of the stamps in the Pattern Play stamp set that's part of the Playing with Patterns suite. There are lots of really fun sort of pattern designs in here that you can build up to make your own designs. And that's what I'm going to be doing on this one. So I've got a couple of the stamps. I've got the sort of chevron pieces, the little sort of starbursts, and the dots that go with them. And I'm going to use the colour palette from the designer series paper. So sticking with Night of Navy, I'm also pulling in Highland Heather, which is a very close sort of match for Purple Posy since we don't have an ink pad for that colour, and then also Coastal Cabana. And with this, it's just a question of building up a design that you choose. So pick your first colour. I think I'm going to start with the Highland Heather and this chevron stamp. So I'm just going to ink this up. As always, light taps on the ink pad just to get enough ink to cover the surface. I'm going to line the piece of cardstock up with my grid paper to make sure I'm working to a straight line. And I'm going to just stamp this across the bottom in a repeating pattern. Just like so. And again. And with this being a photopolymer stamp set, it's clear so you can see through and line up the second one so that you can continue your pattern, just like so. And then I'm going to add some of these spots on the top. So I'm going to take the dotted image first of all. I'm going to do this one in Coastal Cabana. I'm just going to put a couple of these just at the very top of the card, like so. And then to finish that off, I'm going to use the sort of starburst pattern, which actually does coordinate with these spots. And just in Night of Navy, I'm going to go over the top. So line these up so you have sort of two smaller starbursts on one side and they line up with the two smaller spots, and that helps you to get this the right way around. Just like so. And then repeat that for the other two stamps. And there's the mat for the inside of our card. And while I have the ink in hand, as I'm sure you will have heard me say on more than one occasion, no naked envelopes in my craft room, so I'm just going to stamp the envelope as well. I always like to do this. Whenever you send a handmade card, I always like to think that the recipient will see this fall on their doormat and know that something fun is inside, rather than another bill or doom and gloom letter. So I've just put some chevrons down the side, and I'll just repeat the spot pattern that we did on the inside of the card as well. And that's my phone ringing in the other room in case you can hear that. Okay, just continuing to stamp over these spots. And the last one. Okay, and there is our stamped envelope. So that's all of the stamping that we're going to be doing for this particular card. So I'm going to close up my ink pad so I don't end up putting my elbow or the card into them, which is something that I'm well known for doing. And then we can start to assemble all of the pieces. So first of all, I'm going to bring the card base back in. And I'm going to, I don't know if you can see, I have actually managed to smudge some ink over here. Like I said, I'm very good at doing things like that. So I'm going to use this as the front because I can cover this with the Designer Series paper. So I'm going to put the mat on the inside first. I'm going to use Tombow liquid glue to do this. Nice and simple. I'm just going to run a very thin bead of glue right the way around the edge. And then swish of glue across the middle. You don't need a lot of this, just a small bead is more than enough. And because this is liquid glue, you can shimmy this around a bit for a few seconds after you've put it down to make sure that you've got it nicely lined up, like so. And then taking the piece of Designer Series paper, the next thing that I'm going to do is actually use some ribbon. Now I'm taking the ribbon combo pack. This is again from the Playing with Pattern suite. And as you can see, there are 3 different ribbons in this. We've got this gorgeous one in purple posy and white, this nice thin Night of Navy ribbon, and this beautiful, really textured ribbon in Coastal Cabana. And for this one, I think I'm going to go with the thin Night of Navy ribbon for this one. So I'll just pop those out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat on this to put a bow around the middle of the card. So I'm going to take some stamping seal and eyeball the middle of my card from top to bottom and run a little bit of seal just across there. And taking the ribbon, I want to measure a piece that is just wider than my piece of DSP. And I'm going to sit it right into that little strip of stamping seal that I've just put in there. I'm just going to snip the end off here. And then flipping this over, I'm going to take my stamping seal again and run a strip just over where the ends of the ribbon stick out on either side, and pull the ends around the designer series paper and stick them into that seal, like so. Ooh. Apparently I need a bit more on that side. There we go. So that anchors our ribbon nice and neatly right across the middle of our card. And then I'm going to stick this to my card base using liquid glue. So again, just taking the liquid glue and running a very thin bead of glue around the edge. And then a little bit across the middle. And then we'll take this to the front of the card and just lay it into place like so. And you can see we've nicely covered up that ink smudge that I managed to make earlier. Okay, so that's all nicely in place. And while I'm here, I'm just going to burnish the score line on my card as well, just to make sure that it is nice and secure and it stands up nicely for us. So we have the designer series paper with the ribbon wrapped around it on the front and our card mat in the middle. I'm now going to add in our sentiment piece, and I'm going to do this using dimensionals. I'm going to pop one of these into each corner and one into the center, just to make sure that it is fully supported when it's on the card front. Peel the backs off these to reveal the adhesive. And then I shall line this up into the center of my card. And then pop that into place. Okay, so to finish off the ribbon, I'm now going to tie what I refer to as an air bow, so literally just tying a bow in midair. So I've got the long tail here and a loop around my finger. Just going to pull this around and pull it through. I do try and keep the ribbon as flat as possible when I'm doing bows for card fronts. It just helps to make them a little bit flatter, not quite so sort of bulky once the card is in the envelope. Pull those until you are happy with your bow. And I think that looks pretty good. So I'll snip this from the spool. I'm going to use some glue dots then to anchor this to our project. So just taking the back of the bow and pressing it into that glue dot, lift the whole thing up off the backing paper, and the dot will come up and is then on the back of the bow like so. And then I'm going to put this where the ribbon goes under the edge of our sentiment, so it looks like we've tied a bow in the ribbon that goes around the card. But we haven't really, we've cheated. Trim the end up slightly. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to do to finish off my card is use some of the Play In with Patterns Resin Dots. Now I don't know if you can see on the camera here, these are actually matte dots, they're not shiny. They come in 3 different sizes. You've got this sort of smaller size, a medium size and the larger ones. In fact, no, I think that's 4 sizes. those, that one, and then the big one on the end. So yeah, 4 different sizes in 3 different colours. You've got Coastal Cabana, Crushed Curry and Purple Posy. I'm just going to dot these around on the front. I think I'm going to go with 3 on here. I'm using the Take Your Pick tool and I have the pointer end for this. So I'm going to start with one of these larger ones in Purple Posy. Just pull it up off the backing paper. I'm going to pop that up there. And then I'm going to grab one of these in the Coastal Cabana and pop this down here. And then one of the smallest ones in Coastal Cabana. And I'm going to finish my triangle. So I think I'm going to pop that one just there, like so. And that is our finished card using the Happiest of Birthdays stamp set and numerous products from the Playing with Patterns suite. Now what I did with this, like I said, I always need a lot of birthday cards, and using this designer series paper I took inspiration and made quite a few others as well using some of the other patterns. So I've done one here with the Coastal Cabana ribbon. There's another one here with the Purple Posy ribbon and with the Night of Navy ribbon. And then for this one I actually stamped this background paper. So this isn't one of the patterns in the designer series paper stack. This is actually just a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and then using the Pattern Play stamp set I stamped the background myself using the colours that are within this suite as inspiration to make my own DSP, and stamped the envelope as well to go along with that one too. So this is a really quick and simple card to put together. You can absolutely make multiples of this because, like I said, we always need a lot of birthday cards. I really hope you've enjoyed this project, and thank you again for watching. If you have enjoyed this, I would be really grateful if you would pop this video a like and perhaps subscribe to my channel so you'll see more of the projects that I post as they go live. If you have any questions or comments about this project or anything else to do with Stampin' Up, pop them in the comment section below and I'll be happy to help you out with those. As always, the products that I've used today will be listed in the description box below with links directly to my store in case you want to buy any of those. If you're based in the UK and you don't currently have a Stampin' Up demonstrator and you'd like a copy of our current catalogues, again there is a link in the description box below that will take you to the web form on my website where you can request that, and I'll get those catalogues straight out into the post for you. Thank you again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.